All right, first they tried it with the antivirus. Then they brought on the Ebola scare. Now be afraid, be very, very afraid of diphtheria.
Diphtheria outbreak in the Northern Territory has now spread to Western Australia, South Australia and Queensland, making it the worst outbreak seen in the country for decades. To tell us more, we're joined this afternoon by the Vice President of the Australian Medical Association, Associate Professor Julian Raitt. Associate Professor, thanks for joining us. Can we start by asking you exactly what is diphtheria and what are the symptoms?
Sure. Well, diphtheria is a bacterial infection that often affects the throat and also the skin. And unfortunately, it can go on to lead to very serious complications, including obstructed breathing and, in other cases, even heart or nerve damage. So this is an entirely preventable illness. It's something that is routinely vaccinated for. And so it seems that this outbreak has been driven by sort of a breakdown in the vaccination status of some individuals, and that's why this particular epidemic appears to be spreading.
All right, you know me, friends. I need to interrupt here because they are blaming the spread of this non-fatal illness on people who are not vaccinated. How do you like them apples? And let's just watch a little bit of that footage again, but look at the images that they are showing. There was a picture of a baby that was flashed very briefly in the very beginning, and then these people getting their injections again and again. So that is that messaging that responsible individuals should get vaccinated for this childhood disease. In fact, they're telling us that adults should be vaccinated for this childhood disease. I'm using the word disease very loosely. I've done videos previously explaining that these conditions that children experience at different times during their childhood could be natural, could in fact be favorable to help them detox or eliminate or strengthen their ability, their body's ability to deal with other conditions down the road. So I'm just using disease in the way that the media is using it in this story. And of course, the vaccine has more harmful side effects than the so-called disease.
Entirely preventable illness. It's something that is routinely vaccinated for. And so it seems that this outbreak has been driven by sort of a breakdown in the vaccination status of some individuals, and that's why this particular epidemic appears to be spreading.
So you've just mentioned there the increase in cases. I understand we've seen 223 diphtheria notifications already this year.
223 cases already this year. Stay tuned because I'm going to be breaking down that number for you and why that was the smoking gun in this story. Like I really needed a smoking gun to determine or conclude that it was another psyop. But that is a huge giveaway, and I'm going to share with you exactly why in just a moment.
The increase in cases is because people aren't getting vaccinated?
Well, we believe so because obviously, the National Immunisation Program provides immunisation for everybody in childhood and in early adulthood, so that it means that they should be protected from this. And if people are becoming infected, it would imply that their vaccination status is not up to scratch, and as a consequence we're actually encouraging people to really look at their own vaccination status and see if they might have missed any of their vaccines throughout their childhood or young adulthood, and make sure that they come up to date. And if they're uncertain in any way, we're also encouraging them to go see their GP and have a chat about it so that they can actually be better informed about what their particular circumstances might be and what boosters they might possibly require.
Well, there you have it, friends. What boosters they might possibly require. I don't have a very good Australian accent, but the story is one to create fear that there have been 223 notifications of cases, and to shame and guilt adults and children, apparently, or the parents of children, into getting their vaccination status up to scratch, as he said. So they plant stories like this to currently have these voluntary have a voluntary compliance, but you can believe, because of what happened during the whole hogwash back in 2020 and the subsequent years, how they were so shut down in Australia, and they actually had the no jab, no pay rolled out in that country as well. I want to turn our attention to this 223 and its connection to the convid back in the day, and Johns Hopkins, and secret societies. So let's take a look, shall we? So I noticed in the video description of this 7 News Australia report is that there were 223 notifications of diphtheria already recorded this year. It's a bacterial infection, we're told, and it's not fatal, but they want to push in the spin cycle and stir up the doom and gloom. What do you notice about this 223? Well, it's inverted 322. And what 322 is, there we have it, that is the number associated with the secret society called the Skull and Bones. We're told that it is an elite senior secret society at Yale University, and 322 is its most prominent symbol. Now, I'm going to connect the clots for you back to COVID, or convid as some of you call it. I call it cooties. We're going to connect the clots back to Johns Hopkins, and of course to some presidents that were associated and a part of the Skull and Bones. The members are known as bonesmen, and they use 322 as a prefix for their number and insignia, famously measuring time according to a clock 5 minutes out of sync with normal time, referred to as barbarian time. Now, this is not going to be a breakdown of the Skull and Bones. I've done that in previous videos when this 322 or 223, which is the inversion. Evil loves to invert. But I want to show you how strange it is that this number 223 showed up a few times with the Ebola, excuse me, outbreak back in 2014. In Liberia, exactly 223 cases were reported. In Uganda in 2022, another 223 cumulative contacts associated with the first 36. 3 sixes, 666, the mark of the beast. And the beast is behind all of this, friends. Evil is behind this. Here we have the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 2018. They reported a cluster of 223 confirmed and probable. Which is it? Confirmed or probable? Well, you know, and I know that none of these can be confirmed because the test they're using, which is called the PCR test, certainly doesn't measure what they are telling us it does. And so I thought this was very interesting. When I did my research, of course, they serve up AI first, but I thought this was an interesting summary. The main connection between Yale's Skull and Bones and Johns Hopkins is Daniel Coit Gilman. He was a prominent member of the 1852 Yale Skull and Bones class, and he served as the founding president of Johns Hopkins University. Back in the 1800s, he played a pivotal role in establishing the Johns Hopkins Hospital and Medical School. So, a member of a secret society using the number 322 again and again started Johns Hopkins University. Why do we care? Well, remember back in the convid days, Johns Hopkins was the outlet that was pushing all of the doom and gloom. They had their dashboard with these cases that were supposed to make you afraid, be very, very afraid. So when I look at stories like this from 7 News Australia that has the fingerprints of Johns Hopkins all over it, it makes me extra skeptical. What say you? Friends, they're never going to stop. They're going to continue to push this, push this, push this. They work on incrementalism. I'm not going to fall for it. You're not going to fall for it. But I love connecting the clots and collecting the clues for these psyops. So this just popped up on my YouTube feed and I wanted to bring it to you. Don't stop watching now. I've got a great video, if you missed it, from yesterday, all about collecting the clues in the psyops. So watch that next.